Did you know that one deepfake video was all it took to crash one of the biggest financial markets in the world? It's me, and this is one fake that changed the world. Our story starts not with a face swap or a voice clone, but instead an AI-generated image of an entirely new person. The year was 2020, and the place was Twitter. This account called Diet Parnas had just tweeted out this image, claiming that it was a recent photo of Bill Gates and the co-founder of Microsoft. But there was a problem. It wasn't. In fact, this person didn't exist. The face in this photo was pulled from a random stock site, and the name Diet Parnas was simply made up. But despite that, this totally fake photo went viral and kicked off one of the wildest financial frenzies in history. To understand what happened next, we need to talk about what was happening in the world at the time. 2020 was the year that everything was shut down. COVID had just hit, and the world was scrambling. And because of that, the stock market was doing one of its signature things that it does every few years, where it suddenly and inexplicably drops 30% in value in a matter of days. Investors were nervous. People were losing their jobs left and right. And experts on TV were just making wild hand movements while saying stuff like unprecedented times and the new normal. In short, it was very scary. And if you had any money invested, there was a good chance that you were panicking. But then something crazy happened. A small investment company called S3 Partners noticed that in the middle of all this chaos, one stock wasn't dropping. Hertz. Hertz was a car rental company that had already filed for bankruptcy before the pandemic even started. So you might be thinking, why should we care if this company went bankrupt? Well, the thing is that it didn't. As the world began to panic, the price of Hertz's stock started to go up and up and up. By the end of the month, the stock had increased over 1,000%. At the time, analysts were completely baffled by this. They couldn't figure out why the stock was going up instead of crashing like everything else. And so they turned to the internet for help. And that's when they found Diet Parnas. Of course, the people following this account weren't really interested in Bill Gates' new girlfriend. But they were interested in anything that might explain why the stock prices were doing the craziest thing that they had ever seen. And so they started asking Diet Parnas if he knew anything about it. And he claimed that he did. In a tweet thread, Diet Parnas explained that he had been in contact with Hertz and that they were planning to use investor interest in the company to complete an equity raise. Basically, Hertz was going to use everyone's fear about the future of transportation to convince investors to put more money into the company. So naturally, investors started buying up as much Hertz stock as they could. But the most shocking part of this whole story is you and a bunch of dumb investors lost a bunch of money trying to ride a dying company back to success. Nor is it that someone was able to make millions by starting a fake Twitter account and tweeting doctored images. Instead, it's that this trend would quickly morph into a full-blown meme stock frenzy that ended up crashing one of the biggest financial markets in the world. Over the next few weeks, other investors began searching for stocks that they thought could follow a similar trajectory, and they started buying them up. 2. The media took notice of this bizarre phenomenon and started calling these special stocks meme stocks. And then, soon after that, one of those articles caught the eye of a 34-year-old Wall Street trader named Keith Patrick Gill. Unlike most of the investors who were looking for the next Hertz, Gill actually worked on Wall Street and was actually pretty good at investing. But he still liked the idea of getting in on a meme stock early, so he started watching the subreddit closely. And then one day, he saw a post about a new stock that no one had talked about yet. GameStop was a video game retailer that was struggling mightily during the pandemic. People weren't buying games at GameStop anymore. They were buying them online. And because of that, GameStop's stock price was plummeting. So on January 27th, Gill posted this. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this wasn't nearly as shocking as the AI-generated Bill Gates photo that started all of this. But in a way, this was way worse. You see, unlike the fake Bill Gates image, which was just a random guy off the internet, this image was actually of a real person and an important one at that. In case you weren't familiar, this was Ryan Cohen, the founder of Chewy, a popular online pet food retailer and the person that GameStop hoped would save them. And when the Reddit community saw this picture, they got excited. They bought up as much GameStop stock as they could, causing the price to begin increasing slowly at first, but then, very quickly. At the same time, hedge funds began dumping their GameStop stock, which caused the price to increase even more. Before long, GameStop stock price had increased over 1,800 since the start of the year. Some investors tried to warn everyone that this was a bubble, but no one listened. They were too busy watching their portfolios skyrocket in value. But unfortunately, bubbles always pop. On February 5th, the price of GameStop peaked at $483 per share. After that, the price started to fall. Some people panicked and sold, but most just held on to their shares, hoping that the price would go back up. But it never did. Within 2 months, the stock was back down to $100 per share. Today, it's sitting around $20. But the damage has already been done. By the time GameStop's stock price stopped rising, other retail investors had already started to look for the next big thing. And they found it in AMC, the movie theater chain that no one goes to anymore. Just like with GameStop. AMC's stock price began to rise steadily at first and then very quickly. In fact, by June, AMC's stock price had increased over 1,200 since the start of the year. Hedge funds began shorting the stock, but that only caused the price to go up even higher. By August, AMC's stock price had reached $97 per share. But once again, the party didn't last forever. In September, AMC's stock price began to drop, and today, it's sitting around $20. The craziest part about all of this is that almost none of it would have happened if it was UNT for that one fake photo of Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos on a plane. You see, the reason that everyone paid attention to Diet Parnas in the first place was because of another website he ran called Do You and Trust the Plane? The name referred to a conspiracy theory that claimed that both Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates had faked their plane crashes to get out of testifying in court. If you're unfamiliar with this theory, basically in 2018, both Gates and Bezos had minor plane crashes. The crashes weren't serious and no one was hurt, but the timing of the crashes was suspicious. Both Gates and Bezos were being sued at the time, and both of them had crashes within a few months of each other. The timing was just a little bit strange. But of course, that's all it took for people to begin theorizing that they faked their crashes. And that's what Diet Parnas' website, Don't Trust the Plane, was about. But if you take a look at the URL, you'll see that it doesn't say don't trust the plane. Instead, it says don't trust the system, and that's the key to understanding how this all started. The reason that Diet Parnas used a false name and a stock photo on his website was because he wanted to appear credible. He didn't want people to think that it was some random conspiracy theorist who just found a picture of Bill Gates and photoshopped it. So he used a fake name and a stock photo to make himself look like an expert on the subject. But that also meant that when he posted his theories, they didn't come across as insane. They came across as plausible. And that's the power of misinformation. Most of us think that misinformation is obvious. We think that if something seems too stupid to be true, then it probably is. But that's not always the case. Sometimes misinformation can seem completely plausible, especially if it comes from a source that seems credible. And that's what makes it so dangerous. As for our man Diet Parnas, he's basically disappeared since all this happened. He deleted both his Twitter and his website, and he hasn't given any interviews or anything. He's just kind of vanished. But I think that's for the best. I think the craziest part of all of this is that we still do know who he is. Did he just randomly come across this conspiracy theory and decide to write a website about it? Was he put up to it by a friend? Or was it all a big elaborate prank? Unfortunately, we'll never know. And maybe that's for the best. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider liking my YouTube channel. Also, check out this video over here that YouTube thinks you'll like. Thanks for watching. See you next time!